Let's talk about the specific event that, both of us were a part of. It was a pleasure to go out and host the event, and it was super fun too. How did the Gaijatra event shape up, Your Excellency? Just if you want to go ahead and share with everybody just a gist of how the event came to play.
Sure. Well, I might, because I'm an older guy, I might just go back into history just a little bit.
Sure.
When I had the chance to move and work here 15 years ago, I had the chance to join Gaijatra celebrations way back in with the late 2000s, I guess. They were reasonably small. They were a new thing here. I think, part of the global movement for members of the LGBTIQ plus community to show their pride in who they are and the reality of who they are. I think Nepal has always had a really unique regional, cultural sort of role to play in not just helping define those trends, but in fact in leading them, which is pretty exciting. So, when in-person celebration began to be possible again, we took a very hard look at how we, partner and support local organizations and really, be truthful and I think consistent with the spirit of Gaijatra, the spirit of what a Pride March also is, and that is celebration. This is not a time for somber speeches and long programs, but in fact something that is celebratory. So hence the concert. We had the chance to.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, no, and we had the chance to welcome a good friend of mine, Jessica Stern.
She's the special envoy, right?
She is the special envoy, a job that I once held. So I was thrilled to have her here to help us celebrate, because the reality is that Nepal is a leader in the region, in all of Asia, and in fact in the world, in its inclusion, in its constitution, that really takes a look at equality of citizenship for all, and that's pretty amazing.
And now, as we move forward, 22 and beyond, I'm sure diplomatically, I'm sure you've talked with a lot of friends who are in power. Anything specific that you'd want to go ahead and see in the future when it comes to LGBTIQ plus community? Any advancements or anything that you'd like to go ahead and add?
Sure. Speaking in a global sense, there's still a great task ahead of us, because there are still, around 70 countries around the world that actually criminalize same-sex, relationships and are very hostile to sexual or to gender identity issues. What I think is quite important is to take inspiration from those countries who are getting this right. Nepal is obviously one of them, and just understanding that, like any movement towards greater equality and acceptance, we have to play a long game. So I think a strategy to see criminalization drop away is a natural first step in many cases, but. What we want to do is, we understand that this is a long-term game, is to understand that tolerance is not our goal. If you look at the way stations between where we're at and where we want to get, tolerance is somewhere in the middle. So it's better than intolerance, but it's not also the end state. That what do you want to get to is a place in time, in culture, in history, where people are judged, as a great Martin Luther King said, by the quality or the content of their character, and not the color of their skin or any other external marking. So I think that's important to understand, that we need to move past tolerance into a full embrace. So, but again, in much of the world, we still have a great deal of work to do on that count.
And when it comes to Nepal, we're spearheading it for a long time, and as you see it now, even with Gaijatra, even with the events that we did, and the friends that were there, and especially the young people who were there as well, how do you want to go ahead and see Nepal heading it down the road?
I think Nepal has a great deal to teach the world on this issue. I would really focus on two main points on this. One is, Nepal is one of a very small handful of countries who've actually taken the bold step to move to fully constitutional protections against discrimination. South Africa is another, but this is where I'm talking about a population of countries that can be counted on one hand.
Yeah,
that's pretty significant. I think also that Nepal has really always been on the leading edge of defining equal rights for third gender, what we in the West would usually refer to as transgender, or some variation of that. So, I think that, again, Nepal is far, far ahead of much of the rest of the world in figuring out the legal mechanisms, the realities, including, Nepal had the ability to issue third gender passports before the United States did.
Yeah.
So we learned, I think, a trick or two there about how we can really look at those building blocks. But I think, if we look in the United States or Nepal, obviously, even though these are countries that I think are making great strides, there's still a great deal of work to be done. And we still have to look at how aspirational laws and regulations then get implemented, in reality for people that are encountering government offices or policies or other pieces of how this gets implemented.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be fantastic to go ahead and see that, and definitely the United States playing a role in it.
If you love what we are doing, make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications.
This program is brought to you by Vaidya Studios. Thank you very much for watching us on YouTube. Make sure that you also listen to us on Spotify.